Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Daryl Foster from the Condominium Homeowners Association, and we're welcoming you to our meeting today. We have the Vancouver Annual Energy and Carbon Reporting Requirement bylaw and discussion for strata managers and professionals. We're welcoming Gurmeet Gara and Kasha Mailing. Gurmeet is the Senior Green Building Planner for the City of Vancouver, and Kasha is Touch 2 IQ Program Manager, right?
Yep, that is correct.
Great. And so they're going to run us through the slides today. We're going to take about 40 to 45 minutes to get through the slides, and we're going to leave the last 15 minutes for questions. So if you need to submit a question or want to submit a question, please use the Q&A. We've disabled the chat, but the Q&A is open for you to use. And we'll get to those questions as much as possible near the end of the program. So I'm going to turn it over to Kasha and Gurmeet.
Thank you, Daryl. Good afternoon, all. Thanks for inviting us and joining us here for an overview of the annual GHG and energy limits bylaw. I'm going to start sharing my screen and we'll get started. So, yeah, we're here to talk about what the annual greenhouse gas and energy limit bylaw is and what strata managers and condo owners they need to do to comply with this bylaw. But before we dive into what the bylaw is, a bit of a policy background. So in Vancouver, about 57% of the carbon emission or carbon pollution comes from burning natural gas in the building sector. And a substantial chunk is associated with burning this in multifamily sector. So it becomes very important for us to come up with policies and programs that do cater to tackling emission reductions from this large sector. You all may be aware that City of Vancouver Council approved a climate emergency action plan in 2019. That plan has various moves and policy guidelines for different sectors. We have a zero emission building retrofit strategy for the building sector. And within that strategy, this bylaw fits in or lives. Overview of the bylaw. This bylaw establishes energy and carbon reporting rules for large commercial, residential, and hotel buildings. So if a building is over 50,000 square feet in size, and if it is 4 stories and taller in case of a residential building, they are subject to this bylaw. By energy and carbon reporting, we mean you have to monitor your energy use, certain building characteristics, and report it to the city on an annual basis. Under the definition of residential buildings, we have condominium, stratas, purpose-built rental, non-profit housing society. So the definition of residential includes a vast area or casts a broad net for all large and multi-unit residential buildings. Again, this policy aims to reduce our overall greenhouse gas emissions. And as per the Climate Emergency Action Plan, we need to get to 50% by 2030. So I've been using that word energy and carbon reporting, but what does it mean actually? Energy and carbon reporting is commonly known as energy benchmarking in the industry as well. So, and it actually means measuring your energy and carbon emissions data along with your ski building profile as well, such as your floor area, your age of the building, type of building use that is primary. This also compares your building with your historical performance. So if you do the process of reporting or benchmarking, you can see how your building is doing year over year. Compare your buildings to similar buildings or buildings that are in same size and same property use. Do a relative performance check. as well as identify what are the low-hanging fruits and how you can improve your building's overall performance. So it, to understand how to improve, you first need to know how you are performing. So this is knowing how your building is performing. Just to put a bit more into context, a study showed that mid to high-rise multifamily buildings use about $1,200 in energy usage bills per year. If it is scaled to a building level, these do become substantial costs. So it becomes important to know how your building is performing and where are some energy saving and carbon emission reduction measures. And why should a building owner do this too? There are multiple benefits to energy benchmarking and reporting. For building owners, like I said, owners can be made aware of their overall energy use. Like if they're spending 200,000 on energy bills, what are the avenues available that they can reduce that energy costs, as well as take care of emission reduction measures. If you're a resident or a tenant, you can know how the building is performing that you're getting into. For instance, if you go to buy a car, you do want to know how the car performs, what is the mileage, efficiency. Similarly, when you're getting into a building, you would want to know how the building is performing. Are the living condition, indoor air quality good or not? So it helps provide that level of data to the residents too. For us, state and local governments, having regular access to real data helps us design and develop policies that are targeted to the relevant sector and are most impactful. And overall to the public, such policies help generate um, uh, employment opportunities in energy efficiency, reduce greenhouse gas emissions in your city, in both indoor and outdoor, and improve overall living conditions. So this whole process has multifaceted benefits. Also, just to put benchmarking or reporting in context of North America, it is a very prevalent practice across many states in the USA. As you can see on this map on the left, many jurisdictions have voluntary as well as mandatory energy and carbon reporting standards in the US. And the map on the right shows how it is spread out in Canada. Apart from Vancouver, City of Toronto, Province of Ontario, and City of Montreal have mandatory programs, and many other jurisdictions have voluntary programs that they've started, which may slowly translate into something bigger standards. For Vancouver's bylaw, we have phased out the implementation over 3 years. So we started the implementation in 2024, and only large commercial buildings that were over 100,000 square feet in size were required to do this reporting. There were about 211 buildings that were covered last year, and we had a very healthy compliance rate, over 90% that completed their reporting. This year, we have reduced the floor area threshold for commercial to 50,000 square feet, and multifamily buildings, including stratas and condos that are over 100,000 square feet, have to do this reporting this year. This adds about 900 additional buildings, in addition to the 211 that have to do the process on an ongoing annual basis. Moving forward in 2026, we will lower the multifamily floor area threshold to 50,000 square feet. That will add additional 700 buildings who have to do this process. So over a span of 3 years, over 1,800 buildings will have to do this process. And once you do it, you have to do it on an annual basis. It takes some effort to do benchmarking in the first year. And if your data and building does not go any major changes, doing it on an annual basis is a very smooth process and does not take a lot of time. And I also use the word floor area in my previous slide. So floor area is primarily the gross floor area of a building. That's the metric that we use, which is sum of area of all floors of a building, and it includes common areas, lobbies as well. Uh, Sometimes building owners and managers don't have access to their gross floor area, or let's say the building drawings. So for multifamily buildings, we are allowing them to use gross leasable area instead of gross floor area when they do their reporting. So gross leasable area can also translate to taxable area. So if you may not have a measurement of your lobbies or common areas, we will be accepting gross leasable area. So providing some flexibility to building owners to report the data metric or unit that they have with them. So that was a brief overview of what the policy is and what now I'll hand it over to Keisha to walk us through briefly on what the steps are to complete this reporting.
All right, thank you, Gurmeet. Yeah, so essentially, there are two big steps for compliance with the bylaw. The compliance process involves two platforms. Energy Star Portfolio Manager, also known as ESPM, and the Building Performance Reporting System, also known as the BPRS. And so for the Energy Star, essentially, this is where you're going to store your property use details and your energy use for the previous year and each year going forward when you have to report. And then the Building Performance Reporting System, also known as the portal, is where you submit your report. Essentially, there's two platforms just to make sure to keep each other in check. The portal is mainly designed to have a one-stop shop where you can submit your report, view what data you submitted, and if applicable, you can also apply for an extension or exemption on the portal. So we try to make it user-friendly and easy for folks to comply. So that's why we have this portal to get you to that point for compliance. Next slide. So there's some key metrics to enter into Energy Star for compliance. A big component is property use types. So this is all the property use types that are at your building. Even if you have, say a couple thousand square feet of one property use type, we want to see that added in there. The more granular you are with your data or with your property use types, the better, just so we can see that breakdown. As Gurmeet mentioned earlier, gross floor area or gross leasable area, depending on what's available to you and what your property use type is. Gross floor area, I would say, is the best just because this does give you a whole building floor area to compare against your energy usage. So this is definitely the best one to use, but we understand that not everybody has access to the gross floor area, so leasable is acceptable in some cases. Percent occupancy is also important. This is essentially at what level your building is operating. So if it's operating per usual, so that would be 100%. If it's operating at half operations because half of your building is undergoing renovations, or your largest tenant occupying half the space has left and it is vacant, then you would adjust your percent occupancy according to that. Year built is also important. Obviously a building that was built in 1970 is going to be operating differently than a building that was built in 2010. And then, of course, step 5 is your energy use data. So that includes all your energy, electric, natural gas, district energy, whatever you use at that building. We know that for all the other values that Energy Star does ask you about, that you may not have that information up front. So it's best to use your best guess or to consult with either a building engineer or a facilities manager to get that accurate information. If it's not easily available to you, the default values, which I'll show you in a little bit, are acceptable. We'll do next slide. And so this is kind of the quick guide for Energy Star, right? Which is the first platform that you'll be using to report. Essentially, you want to identify your building ID, create your portfolio account, add your use details and energy data, and then connect and share your property with the City of Vancouver. When you connect and share your property with the City of Vancouver, essentially that gives us the ability to view your report within Energy Star to see, to help you troubleshoot errors and to help you walk through certain things that may be holding you back from compliance. And with that, I'll go ahead and do a brief overview of Energy Star. I'm going to share my screen real quick. All right, perfect. Should be sharing my screen. So this is Energy Star. Essentially, you can get to it by Googling ESPM login or just searching for Energy Star Portfolio Manager. And this is how you can create your account. So anyone can create an account in Energy Star. So this could be, a building owner, property manager, the front desk, building manager, anybody that's affiliated with the building that can provide this information. So you'll want to do create a new account once you get to the page. And this is essentially where you put all your account information. This includes all of your company information. This is just good to have. For email, you want to use a generic email. So just in case you pass the responsibility of reporting off to somebody else within your team, it's easily transferable versus using a personal email. Be sure to select your reporting units here. If you're going to use square feet, keep it as is. If you're going to use square meters, you'll want to switch to metric units, and you'll want to make sure you continue to change it to those metric units throughout your report. Energy Star does default to conventional, so everything is going to default to square foot, so you have to actively update that as you work through your report in Energy Star so that it's consistent. Once you create your account, essentially you'll log in and it will look like this. It would be empty here. These are just my test buildings here, but essentially this is your account, and you can add however many buildings you would like to your account. You can add 1, 3, 20, 70, however many you would like. You just have to create one account for all of them. To add your property, you'll just select add property here. And then for adding your property, essentially what you'll want to do is choose your largest property use type first. We'll say multifamily. And then you can add other use types later. So you have retail and some office at your building. You can add those use types later. I'll show you how. You just want to start with your largest use type here. And then if you want to know, what use type your building fits into, you can select this button here and it'll give you information on each use type if you're unsure. You always click that it's a single building and that it's existing. And then get started. And so these are the important fields that I was telling you about. So besides the building name and address, these are some important fields to enter here. So year built, anything with an asterisk is required. Anything with a blue wording, you can hover over and it'll give you some more information on what that means. So if you just hover over these, it'll tell you, further information. So as I noted earlier, year built is very important. Gross floor area. this is the total property floor area. So say, right now I just added multifamily, and only 50,000 square feet is multifamily, like you'll still add in here the total gross floor area of the entire building. And then you can add those use types later. Occupancy, again, this is the percentage of your building that's occupied and operational. Some people get this confused with max occupancy, but this is actually like, is it under normal operations? What's going on? Building ID is also important. So if you don't know it yet, it's okay to skip over this and come back to it, but it's very important that you add this in your portfolio. If you do not and you submit your report, it won't be able to connect with the portal. It won't be able to go through to our end. So it's very important to choose your building ID or add your building ID in here. Essentially, you'll just go to city, town, scroll all the way to the bottom, and here's Vancouver. And then you'll add your ID here, and it's always a capital V with 5 digits. Make sure there's no spaces before or after. It's a very sensitive blank. So you want to make sure the V is capitalized, you got the 5 digits there, no spaces after, before, or any periods or weird characters in there. Depending on what use type you choose, you have to also select these other variables down here. So this could be, if your building includes parking areas, you'll want to select that and select anything that's accordingly relative to your building. I'm going to scroll up here and make sure I filled everything out just so we can move on to the next step. All right, once you continue, it'll ask you a little bit more in-depth details on this page, specifically about the building type that you just added. So for these, this is where I said you can use default if you don't have, if you're not confident with the information that you have, or if you're unsure. Total number of residential living units, say if you do know this, you can say it's 150 to make it easy. You'll fill out just one of these. So is your building 1 to 4 stories, 5 to 9, or 10 or more? Most of you are going to fall in these 2 categories. So you can say there's 10 floors. And then these other 2 will be 0. The other 2 are 0 because this is like, all your floor or all of your units are within between 5 to 9 stories tall of a building. If you don't know what these are, or you want to use a placeholder until you can get more accurate information, you can click use default. And so Energy Star will weight a defaulted value based on the metrics that you did put in that were required. So say we put default for all of these. And then anything asterisk, again, is required. Anything with a blue star means you have to enter that to get an Energy Star score. Of course, with compliance, you don't have to get an Energy Star score. This is just for the Energy Star program. If you want to get a score, then you'll want to add these in or put default values. And these are just no asterisk or no stars, so it's not required to move forward to add the property, and it's not required for Energy Star score, so that's fine if you leave these blank. Always leave this as it defaults to and don't select temporary values. So just stay focused on this middle column here. Once you click add a property, it'll be added to your building. So for this, I had an error because I had 3 different ones here, so this should be 150 to match that. And so once you add this in here, then your property will be added. So I'm gonna fast forward to the property here. And Energy Star is working very slow lately. It's been doing this probably, I would say, for a week or two. So just to be patient with it. It is a little bit laggy lately. And usually that coincides with the benchmarking season. Okay, so here we go. Once it's added, it'll open up to your portfolio here. Everything that we added, the address, year built, and everything will be up here or in the details tab. So anything that I added will show up in here in this table. If you have an exclamation point, that means that there's an error on this page. So you just have to fix that error. Once it scrolls down, I'll show you what the error is. Oops, hang on a second. Okay. So you saw it flash for a second there and then it disappears. I think it just still has to load. So we'll just move on from that. But essentially, this is where the table is that you just add the information. If you open up this caret here, it's a little side arrow. It'll open up and show you everything that you entered for parking or your building use, whatever that may be. And so this property I'm showing you is an office. So as you can see here, it has different questions like what are the weekly operating hours, the number of workers on the shift. And again, you can use default values here if needed. So this is where it's all stored. It does collapse, so you can't see it if it's closed. But if you need to change any of it, you can come into here and click Edit Use Details if you need to update office hours, or if you want to come back and put more accurate values in there than the default values, you can do that. You can just click Edit Use Details. If your parking is metered with your building, then you're going to want to add that as a separate property use type, as shown here. Essentially, you don't want to exclude that parking if it's metered with your building. You want to always make sure that's included. It's kind of all for one kind of scenario when you're benchmarking. Anything that's metered with your building, you want to include that as its own use type or within the overarching use type. So hypothetically, this building is metered with a parking area that's around 600,000 square feet. So that's why this was added in here. You can add parking or any other use type here. And so once you add that, it'll ask you a similar series of questions. Again, you can use default values if you do not know the exact answers for some of those. And then you can add as many as you'd like here to represent your building. So I'm gonna scroll up real quick. Energy, so this is the meat of the whole program here. This is your energy use. So essentially, what you want to do here, let me clear these out so it actually shows up blank. So essentially what you'll want to do is add your electric and your natural gas here, or any other fuel source that you get. If you don't get natural gas, but you get hot water district energy or something like that, add that here. For example purposes, I'm just going to use, say this building uses electric and natural gas. BC Hydro does provide auto upload for buildings. So if you have more than 5 residential accounts or more than 3 commercial accounts, BC Hydro can aggregate all of your accounts and upload it into Energy Star. And we can provide that how-to guide. And it's pretty very helpful. They just start to upload your data every year. So for now, I'll just show you how to add meters and how the energy data should work once you have it uploaded in here. So we'll go to add a meter. And for electric and natural gas, we'll just say, for example purposes, 1 meter each. So purchase from the grid is always going to be the sub selection that you choose. And then get started. You can also label these. So if you want this to say BC Hydro meter, you can say BC Hydro or whatever you'd like to label it. Once you're in here, you'll select the units. Most likely your gas is going to be gigajoules. And then for electric, it's going to be kilowatt hours. And then date meter became active. This is a little bit tricky. Some people get stuck on this. Essentially, you just want to put a placeholder in here of January 1st of the previous year. You'll change this eventually. Date meter became active is essentially the first date of the bill that you enter into your account. Since we don't know what that bill is yet, because we haven't entered our bills yet, we just put in a default date and we'll add that date later. So essentially, name it if you want to, add your units, and default to 1/1 of the previous year, and then click Create Meters. And then always click this first button, first asterisk here, that it's the total energy consumption. Apply selections, and then you have your energy meters added. I'm gonna back up real quick just so I can show you what it looks like. So we got our electric here and then our natural gas. So once you click into it, if it lets me. You can open this information. So this is where everything I just added was put in here. So here's the name, units, and the date meter became active. I can change this whenever I get my first bill added in here. Everything else, don't worry about it. There's a lot going on in Energy Star, so just keep your eyes focused on just the things that are important and have asterisks on them. You know, if you start looking at all of this stuff, it gets confusing, so just stick with these 3 blanks. If you want to manually add your entries for energy, you can. You can add an entry here. And most of you will have at minimum 12 plus bills for the year. So not all of our bills start on 1/1 of 2024, right? Sometimes they'll start on the previous year. So say the first bill that includes 2024 is 12/15/2023. We'll want to include that. And then it immediately calendarizes it for you. So you have 30 days and then you put in your usage. Again, don't worry about any of this other stuff. Just worry about the first 3 here. There's a couple really important things to remember about energy usage here. Just make sure that the start end date isn't more than 30 to 31 days. If you have more than 31 days in each entry, then there will be an error on our end, and it will say that you don't have any energy data in there. So you just have to make sure you're not doing huge bulk data uploads. It has to be no more than 31 days per entry. The usage, you just add the usage here, click add another entry, and then boom, you just can add usage from then on out. Another thing to remember is don't try to divide out your bills so it adds up perfectly. That's fine. Our algorithms will pull just from what you entered for 2024. That's okay if there's an overlap from the previous year and into the next year, 2025. Totally fine. Just make sure you put the whole bill in there. That's inclusive of 30 to 31 days. If you want to do spread, yes,
Sorry,
yep.
just being aware of time, I think we should move on to BPR soon.
Yes, yep. We'll have plenty of time for that too. So we'll do, you can also spreadsheet upload too here. So if you upload a spreadsheet, then you can just add start date, end date, and usage in the spreadsheet. It looks the same. It just depends on how you would like to upload your data, is essentially how you'd like to put it in here. So that's the basic property use details, energy. Just don't forget to connect and share also with the city after you create your Energy Star account. You can go to contacts up here. The first step is to connect with the city of Vancouver. So you can go to add new contacts. And then you'll go into username and it's going to be City of Vancouver. Search. And this is just kind of like just a request, right? To connect with City of Vancouver. This is what it would look like. Once that connection goes through, it takes just a couple of minutes. Then you share your Energy Star portfolio with the City of Vancouver. So you go to sharing here. So first step was contacts. Next step was sharing. So you'll just click this first button here. It's very similar to connect. You just do select properties, select whatever property you want to share, apply selection, select City of Vancouver, personalize sharing, and then continue. Once you're in here, you just provide your access. So we're just giving read only for all of these, except for the last two, we're just give none. So goals and recognition, we can just do none here. And then scroll down, yes, to share forward. Once you hit this button, for example purposes, I'm not going to select that, but once you hit that button, it'll share your property within 30 minutes at most. So once those steps are done, you can move to the BPRS and create your account. Let's see here. It's a little slow. So for this, it's energycarbonreport.vancouver.ca. You create your account just like for Energy Star. It's way less information. I would use the same generic email you used for Energy Star. Once you log in, then you can claim your building. It's the second tab. Once you claim your building, you can put in your address, building name, or building ID, as you can see here, and then search it. Once it pops up, you can hit claim. So let's see here. You click claim. If someone's already claimed it, the name will pop up here. If this truly is your building and someone else is on here, you can click claim and then we'll send an automated email to resolve that issue. And then as soon as you click claim, it'll pop up right on your page. And this is where you can, just like Energy Star, you can claim anywhere from like 3 to 15 buildings, however 20, however many you want in here. This is your portfolio. So as I mentioned before, you can go submit an extension exemption, or you can do a data snapshot, which gives you a summary of your report. Or you can submit here. And it doesn't submit right away, so don't worry. Once you submit, if you have any errors, it'll show you here. Since this is like a test building, I'm gonna have some errors. You'll want to go back in your report, fix that. It's important to know that this says connected. This means that you connected and shared with the City of Vancouver appropriately. If it does not say connected, either your building ID wasn't in there correctly or you didn't connect and share. So just make sure you go through the how-to guide again and you selected those correct preferences. And the Help Center is happy to help too, because sometimes it takes a little extra troubleshooting. So for those of you that are not subject to the energy limits, you just fill out 1, 2, and 4. For the buildings, for this crowd, for this purposes, I think most of you will just be doing 1, 2, and 4. Unless you have 100,000 square feet of office and retail, you have to fill out step 3. Step 1 is just going over like confirming your gross floor area is correct, confirming your property use details and everything that you've added in Energy Star is correct. So it's kind of just like a double check mark of making sure everything's correct. And then you just check these boxes once you know that, yes, I added this correctly. ID, boom, 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 save and continue. District energy, this is just a little bit extra. Some of you have very unique systems or have district energy, so we want to know that and choose your provider here. Some of you have buildings that are metered with your building that are next door, so it's like a completely separate building next door, or sometimes it's even down the block. So we want to know if you do share energy with a neighbor building. Once you click save and continue, it'll bring you to 3. This calls out who this applies to. If it does not apply to you, skip to 4. And this is where you can submit your data. For this, checking this box is giving the City of Vancouver to disclose your building's information on the map. So this is the map that's publicly available to all. This kind of shows you an idea of who's in compliance, who's not in compliance, and energy usage. And then once you select submit your data, you'll get a email notification from us right away that says you're either in compliance or you're in pending revisions. If you're in pending, it means that there's a report error, and let the help center know if you need help working through that. We're happy to get you all situated, and then you'll just need to resubmit if you have some errors. I know that's a lot. This is the map, so you can see here. This is a great visual aid to who's in compliance is red, or is green, and then red is not in compliance yet for this year. And then yellow is pending, so they might have some report errors. But this is kind of a nice visual of all the buildings that have to comply in Vancouver. I know that was a lot, so happy to answer some questions. I'll go ahead and turn it over to Gurmeet, and then we can initiate that.
Thanks, Keisha. Yeah, I will go through a couple more resources. Like Keisha said, Keisha, do you want to stop sharing your screen? Thank you. We do have a lot of resources that can help building owners comply with this regulation. So Keisha showed you a visual of the map that we have. So first off, we have a landing page. We have a resource hub. It's called Energize Vancouver. So it has information about the regulation, what different building types are subject to within the regulation. And we have videos, walkthrough guides, a lot of resources that you can view at your own time. So this is Report Your Building's Energy and GHG Data webpage. If we scroll down, we have a resource section. Here's where you will find the link to the reporting map, guides, previously recorded webinars. We have small videos on what the bylaw and the regulation is. So if you want to have a deeper understanding of it, please feel free to go through that. We also have a look up your building ID tool. So like Keisha mentioned, all buildings have a Vancouver building ID assigned to them. We do send out physical communication. We send out letters to each building owner on their registered address, and that has the building's ID and when they're supposed to report. In case you missed it or you don't have it with you, you can try to search your building by address or here too. So for example, I'll put 555 West Hastings here. And if I do a quick search, it will show me the building details. So this building is an office building subject to reporting in 2024. and what is its building ID and floor area as they reported. So we have this kind of information available on the web. Uh, and if you want a comprehensive list of if you manage a building portfolio and you would like to know whether all 50 buildings are subject to the regulations or not, you can go here and download the covered building list, which will have details of all the buildings, roughly 1,800 that are subject to the regulation. As part of our uh, feedback to the building owners, we also provide annual scorecards. So this will have some more information on how your building is performing compared to similar buildings, high-level recommendation that your buildings can take to improve its energy usage and reduce carbon emissions, and what all incentives are available, like what incentives are being provided by the city, what does the province has in place. So we try to keep that updated on an annual basis too. And yeah, as Keisha mentioned, we do have a help center. It's operational 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. You can call our help center or send an email. If you're doing this process by yourself and you get stuck somewhere, they can help you by screen sharing and helping you guide through that process. So this is a resource for the industry and building owners, and we encourage you to avail this. I'll pass it over to Daryl for questions. And while we go through Q&A, we have a QR code on this slide too, that will take you directly to our uh, uh, newsletter sign up. We send it once a month or sometimes once in 2 months. It's very relevant to the program. I'm sure you'll be benefited by using that. Thank you. Over to you, Daryl.
Sure. Well, thank you very much. I mean, it must be a very comprehensive slideshow and information, because we have one question, and that question was answered, which is the reporting requirement only for Vancouver, or is it just, or other municipalities are involved in this?
Yeah, so this is a municipal regulation. So buildings that fall under municipal boundary of Vancouver only are required to report.
Great. Super. And the one thing I did want to put across to everyone is, and I know a lot of the strata managers will know this, but I know there's some people on here that are not strata managers, and that's just great. That the gross floor area, including gross floor areas for your parking area, is often detailed in your depreciation reports. So you'll have that information. It's very easy to find, and there's another good reason to have that report available. And so that should give you pretty much everything you need. And I'm just wondering, is there an opportunity to, say, hire someone to do this for you? Are there people out there that you could actually reach out to manage this for a strata, say a self-managed strata corporation?
Yeah, great question, Daryl. So we have had a few inquiries from some building stratas and property managers if they can hire someone. Yes, there's lots of firms out in the industry and local Vancouver market who have done this process in the past for under different programs for different reasons. We cannot advocate for certain firms, but what we are trying to do is hopefully in a week or so, we are going to publish some qualification criteria that we feel fit for a firm to do this work, uh, and what they are actually doing for you. Like they are creating this profile, they're getting their gross floor area. So just to guide stratas to help them select someone, we're putting some resources out pretty soon, hopefully by the end of this week. So if you, that's why I always encourage people keep visiting our Energize Vancouver resource hub. We keep updating it, and we also send these updates via newsletters.
Super. All right, and I honestly think that's it for questions. Just a reminder to everyone that we are recording this, and it's going to be posted to the CHOA website, and certainly the city may want to link that also. So that's great, and the slideshow will also be popped there. So all this information, you can rehash it if you need to, if you're trying to do this yourself, and hopefully you'll get those resources out of recommendations for qualifications for the for any anyone that you're trying to hire to do this. So thank you so much again for the two of you for helping. And yeah, that's it then.
Thank you, Daryl. Thanks everyone for
Thank you so
attending.
much.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.